Welcome to the 21-day online meditation course of Sahaja Yoga. This is day 11. My name is Mark and I'm in northern New Jersey, and our first meditation of the evening will include a foot soak. So here's an opportunity to get ready, if you're not already ready, to get the things you'll need to put your feet into a bucket of warm salt water, with things then to rinse and dry your feet after that. Welcome to everybody, especially if this is your first meeting of Sahaja Yoga. You'll find it very enjoyable and quite an experience. Sahaja Yoga is always free, and the thing that I've really been impressed by in Sahaja Yoga is how, if you want to, and for people like me, you really need to, work with other people and even work with a partner, somebody who can help you and guide you and encourage you. And so if you would like some kind of a meditation buddy, you can actually request in the Zoom chat or on the course website or in our WhatsApp groups that you would like to have a mentor, someone to work with who can answer your questions. And based on my own experience in mentoring, the mentor is going to learn a lot from you as well. In last night's class, we answered the question, am I my own teacher? And the answer in Sahaja Yoga is yes, I am my own teacher. Tonight's topic is innocence, and is it possible to restore childlike innocence in us? So we'll find out. I'd like to introduce the presenters for tonight's program and our musician. So welcome Steve and Alice and Kirill. So hi Steve.
Hi, Mark.
In your first week, did you feel much in Sahaja Yoga?
I did. Some of the things that we talk about, I felt very well. Some I did not, but there were some profound things that I felt from the beginning. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm still here, and in my first week, I must say I didn't feel anything, but somehow I wanted to keep trying it. How about you, Alice, in your first week? Did you have any kind of experiences?
Well, I've been doing this since I was little, so I don't really remember my first week. But yeah, I mean, I was feeling things pretty early on since I was young. But you do always kind of wonder, am I really feeling it? So the more you feel it, the more it kind of confirms it.
Okay. Kirill, did you have any kind of strong experiences in the very beginning?
I also started practicing the Sahaja meditation when I was about 2 years old, and since I'm practicing for more than 30 years, and honestly, I don't remember that my first experience, but I do remember feeling cool breeze, as my mom told me. Of course, it's as Alice mentioned, it's an interesting question. Was it my child imagination or was it real? But with the time, the understanding is real, growing that it's a real thing.
All right. And what instrument are you going to play this evening, and what are you going to play?
So today I would like to share with you all Indian classical composition, which is called Rag Bhairavi. And the instrument I will be using is called Santoor. It has almost 100 strings, and it's originated in Indian Kashmir region. And in general, Indian classical music is a wonderful instrument which can help us with meditation to achieve the thoughtless awareness, which is one of the key aspects of meditation. So I hope you will enjoy it.
Yeah, one of my peak experiences in Sahaja Yoga was a concert, and I just couldn't believe its effect on my enjoyment of the meditation. So now I want to turn it over to a really good friend of mine, Steve.
Thank you, Mark. And good evening, everybody. It's really great to be here with you to talk about a really joyful subject, innocence. And, one of the slides you may have seen at the beginning when you were waiting to come on, when the music was on, said that we're going to talk about rediscovering our childlike innocence. And probably, hopefully, many of us remember from childhood kind of a state that maybe is harder to reach now, where everything was very simple and everything was very immediate and everything was delightful. We could get so much pleasure and joy out of the simplest things. And you know how children turn everything into something to play with. They just enjoy and see the potential and the creativity in everything. And sometimes as we get older and we go through the ups and downs of life, we may feel that we can't access innocence anymore. And I don't know if any of you have felt that. I did at one time in my life. And one of the things that Shri Mataji said, and I think it was on one of the slides also, is that innocence is not something that can be lost. It can be clouded over like the clouds covering the sun, but the sun is still there. And I found that so reassuring in the beginning to know that that innocence is still there inside of me, and that through the meditation, that I would be able to access it again. And I had some very beautiful experiences early on where I had these very immediate, very pure perceptions of things around me that were so fresh and simple, and so delightful. And it was very moving because I didn't know if I would ever feel that way again. And it reminded me of childhood. So this innocence inside of us is a very powerful force. And when it's awakened, when it's expressing itself in us, we feel that simplicity, like we become very uncluttered inside, and we just feel very immediate, clear perception of everything around us and everything inside of us. We feel very joyful, and connected to this quality of innocence also is wisdom. And you may have seen in your own lives moments when a child comes out with something that's actually incredibly deep and wise, because again of that simplicity and that purity in their nature. So with the focus on the chakra that we'll be talking about tonight, which is related to innocence, we will begin through our meditation to experience those qualities in ourselves again. And it's such a beautiful and joyful experience when that happens. So from a very practical point of view, this chakra is called the Mooladhara Chakra. It's at the very base of the spine, as you see on the chart there, where it says the number 1. And this chakra it's very important that it's at the base of the spine, because it is like any structure. It has to have a strong foundation. So as our innocence develops and expresses itself inside, our whole system becomes stronger. It's the support of the root, as the slide said, which means that a healthy Mooladhara chakra really supports the rising of the Kundalini and all of our growth. So it's really, really important, and also very, very joyful as it begins to get more and more into its natural state. On the hand, you see that it's here at the base of the palm. And so that is where our Mooladhara chakra exists within us. So now we're going to do the foot soak and meditation, and we'll put some attention on the qualities of this Mooladhara chakra and begin to request and desire that our innocence is something that we can feel and experience again. So let's begin. First of all, for the meditation, again, as Mark said, hopefully you have your foot soaks ready. If by some chance you don't, or you haven't been here before, that's fine. Just follow along. But we'll begin by raising our Kundalini and putting ourselves in Bandhan. So as you remember, the left hand is rising up the center of the body, starting at the base of the spine. The right hand is rotating around it. We can watch our left hand and bring it up above the head, and we tie a knot above the head. And let's do this movement always a little slowly so that we can really feel what we're doing. So we do it a second time, same thing. Bring it up slowly above the head, and we tie 2 knots. Bring the hands back down. And a third time. And we tied 3 knots this time to bring our energy up to the top of the head and our attention too. So then the second movement we do is the bandhan, where we put our right hand by our left hip and the left hand stays open on the lap. And we do the arch over the top of the head, down to the right hip and back again. So let's do this 7 times. Slowly, again, trying to feel the movement, to feel what we're doing. And when we're finished with that, excuse me, let's put our right hand toward the foot soaking bowl. We're going to give energy or vibrations to the water so that it's charged with this energy and becomes more powerful in cleansing our system. So we just put our hand toward the water for a moment. And then we can put our feet in the water. We can open our hands on our laps, and we can close our eyes. So we close our eyes because we want our attention to go inside and not to be responding and reacting to what's going on around us. So with the eyes closed, let's take a moment to observe our breathing and just to settle down, quiet down inside. We don't have to control or change the breathing. We just observe it. So now let's take our right hand and bring it to the top of our head. And just press down lightly on the top of the head. And let's feel that pressure, that very tangible sensation of the hand on top of the head. Pressing down, we can bend our heads a little forward. And our attention will gradually settle there on that spot where we're putting the pressure. So let's ask inside, addressing our own Kundalini. Let's ask, Mother Kundalini, please rise within me and take me into meditation. Still feeling the pressure of our hand on our head. Mother Kundalini, please rise and take me into meditation. Let's slowly raise our hand up, our right hand up about 5 or 6 inches above our heads. And let's observe what we feel with our right hand. So we might feel coolness, we might feel heat, we might feel tingling, we might not feel anything also. Let's just observe. And let's be aware of that space between the head and the hand. Let's see now if we can leave our attention there, floating above the head, and bring our hand back to our lap. So let's now give a little attention to that first chakra, the Mooladhara Chakra. So it's at the base of the spine. Excuse me. At the base of the spine, right where our body meets the chair, basically where we're sitting. So let's be aware for a moment of that area of the body. And we can ask inside, again, asking our own energy, to please awaken my innocence. Please awaken my innocence and my wisdom. Please allow me to feel the purity of my being and the joy of my being in complete innocence. So let's continue to feel, be aware of that area of the Mooladhara Chakra at the base of the spine. Let's once more put our right hand on the top of our head and press down. And we can just bring our attention up from the base of the spine to the top of the head where our hand is. And then once again, we can bring the attention down from the top of the head to rest at the base of the spine. And maybe some of us may feel a kind of a connection between these 2 points. And once more, we can bring the attention to the top of the head where our hand is. And feel our hand pressing down. We can raise the hand up and see what we feel with our hand. And let's let the attention settle up there. And we can slowly bring our hand down. And we'll just sit quietly for a minute or two in silence. So now, if we can, without breaking that mood and without breaking that feeling of the attention being inside, let's just wash our feet, finish the foot soak, and put the foot soaking bowl aside. And when we're finished with that, let's close our eyes again for a moment. Bring the attention inside again. Just observe how we feel. And in that meditative state, now we'll be watching a video of Shri Mataji in which she talks about this beautiful quality of innocence. So during the video, although we'll open our eyes, let's keep our hands open, keep our attention inside on how we feel and what we feel, and just enjoy this talk of Shri Mataji.
So actually, we bow to innocence within us. And this innocence is the one gives you the enlightenment. As I told you yesterday, the light has innocence. But this is innocent without knowledge. But your light is innocent with knowledge. We always think that the people who have got knowledge can never be innocent, can never be simple. And the idea we have got about innocence is that an innocent person is always deceived, can be befooled, and can be always taken for granted. But innocence is a power. It is a power which protects you, which gives you light of knowledge. Knowledge that we have in the worldly sense is how to exploit others, how to cheat others, how to make money out of them, how to make fun of others, how to look down upon others. But the light of innocence is the light by which you know that love is the highest thing. And it teaches you how to love others, how to care for others, how to be gentle about others. It also gives you the light within. It's just the other way around of this avidya that we have in this world. Just the other way around. The avidya outside teaches us competition, how to put the other person down, because it has fear. It is insecure. This knowledge is not secure at all. If it had security, it would not have behaved like this. But the light of innocence knows everything. It has no fear. When we say children are innocent, we mean to say that they have that power of innocence. Many times people have noticed if a child falls from a height, he doesn't die, while a young man may die with a much smaller height. And the child is not afraid while falling. He just enjoys as if there's a parachute coming down, nicely. And then when he falls down also just gets up, laughs, smiles at everyone. He doesn't understand why everybody is worried. Because in that innocence he knows that he's looked after. He's protected. He knows that there is a power which is much higher than him, and he does not have to worry. Then we start putting ideas into the head of the child. And that is how he starts losing his power of innocence. And he becomes a coward. He becomes a cunning fellow. He becomes an unrighteous personality. But still we would say that the innocence of children is innocence of ignorance. In a way. Because they do not know the dangers of life. But the light of innocence knows all the dangers and also knows how to get rid of it. Also knows how to be away from such a person. There was a wise man who was going on a staircase. There was a stupid man coming from the other side, foolish man. So foolish people are always aggressive. That is one of the signs, because they have inferiority complex. So the foolish man says to the man who was coming up, he says, one had to move on one side. So he says, I don't move for fools, the foolish one says. So the wise man says, I do, and he moved. That's how the light of innocence tells you how far to go with a person, how far to talk to a person, how far to indulge in another person's personality or his problems. Otherwise he deceits. He understands that this gentleman is a stupid fool, so I move for a fool like that. He doesn't pay attention to such a person. He doesn't bother about such a person. This is the light of innocence which gives you discrimination. How far to go with others?
Let's stay in this state of silent meditation for 1 more minute.
We're just gonna we're just gonna do a short meditation after this lovely music to focus a little more on this chakra of the Mooladhara. So we can keep our eyes closed throughout, and we'll just put both of our hands facing the Mother Earth or on the Mother Earth. We just drop our hands down. And as was mentioned before, we can try and bring our attention down to the base of the spine where this chakra is located. And this chakra is related to the earth element. So we can address the earth element. And just inside, ask Mother Earth, please establish within me the qualities of gravity, of groundedness, which give rise to this innocence. We let go of anything that may be blocking this innocence from establishing within us. Mother Earth, please absorb anything within me that is preventing me from manifesting this innocence and wisdom. We can bring both of our hands back on our lap, palm facing upwards and open. And we'll take our right hand, and as we did before, we'll raise the hand slowly from the base of the spine all the way to the top. And we can do this a few times just to guide this energy within us. And guide our attention up to the top of the head. And just put our hand above the head. See how we're feeling. And then bring your hand down, and we'll just sit in silence for a moment, enjoying the state where we are beyond the thoughts, beyond the mind, and try and feel that innocent joy that was mentioned earlier. So we'll end the meditation by raising our Kundalini and taking a bandhan as we did at the start. So with the left hand going up and the right hand turning around it.
Thank you, Alice. And thank you, Steve. And thank you, Kirill. And most of all, thank you, Shri Mataji, for making it possible for us all to be together and enjoy this program together. So the main part of our program is drawing to a close, but you're welcome to stay on where we have a question and answer session with the people who have appeared on the camera today. And before we get to that part, we have a few announcements about the program tomorrow. So tomorrow we're going to move up the central channel of our subtle system, as we saw in the diagram. So tomorrow we'll look at the second chakra, which involves our powers of creativity and our deep understanding of things. So very informative and very enjoyable tomorrow program. And it connects to our pure desire. So we have many program resources available to you. We have handouts, which are at our website. We also have a link to our WhatsApp group, which is on the course website. And in the Zoom chat, as well as in the WhatsApp group, we have a form you can fill out if you would like to have a mentor. And that's the QR code to the site. So this is the handout, which is now available in our WhatsApp groups and also on the course webpage for today's program. And it includes affirmations. So now if you want to be in a breakout room with a Sahaja Yoga teacher, one-on-one, you can now write to breakout room help in the Zoom chat. You just press the plus button and select breakout room help, and you'll have your own one-on-one chance to be with somebody who's been doing Sahaja Yoga for some time. And if you want to ask a question, you can ask questions to chat Q&A. So this is a live chat with a real live Sahaja Yoga teacher that is just via messaging within the Zoom chat. And so now I'm inviting back Steve and Alice so that we can share some of our experiences, some of the things that we've been maybe figuring out or trying to figure out about Sahaja Yoga. So great to see you. So I guess I'll start with Steve. One of the aspects of being a child is life is pretty simple. So have you experienced that quality of simplicity that we associate with a childlike outlook?
Yeah. There's one experience I had early on that really pointed out the change, in this aspect of myself. And I was actually in New York. I was in Central Park, and it was spring. It had been raining. It was kind of one of those gray, rainy days. And I've been meditating. I think I've been doing Sahaja Yoga for about maybe 6 months, and I just had this experience of seeing the nature there, the dogwood trees with the drops of rain on the petals of the flowers, and it was such a vibrant and immediate perception, and it was so simple because there was no analysis going on in my mind. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I wasn't my mind was not there. I was just totally engrossed in the moment, and the perception was so joyful. And I remember the thing that came to my mind was, I haven't felt this since I was a child. Like I remembered, it made me remember that feeling, and realize that it was new for me to have it back, and beautiful experience. So yeah, that kind of thing happens, more and more.
As an adult, have you felt that simplicity, that directness of experience of a child, Alice?
Yeah, at times. Gonna have to tap into it sometimes because you always, as an adult, you think about things more, you analyze more. So, but yeah, it's something I feel that connects me to that sort of feeling of innocence is doing art, painting, for example. I feel that as soon as I'm kind of in a creative, doing something creative, you kind of let go of the overly analytical kind of aspect, and you kind of naturally tap into that innocence, and beautiful things come out of it because you're not sort of overthinking or reacting to things. You're just letting it flow, kind of how things are, I guess, when you're a bit younger, and you just see things for what they are. You just observe and let things flow. Yeah. So it's
A few programs ago, we introduced our different subtle aspects of our being by talking about the guru principle within us, like an inner teacher or guide. So, is there an aspect to awakening our more childlike qualities that helps to guide us, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think as Alice was just describing, um, when you're not thinking, when you're not analyzing, um, when you're really sort of fully engrossed in the moment and you're fully present, um, you make wise decisions in that state. You understand much better what you need to do and what you shouldn't do, and you start to become aware of the things that are going to feel like they nourish your growth and the things that don't. And I really find that it's in that state of innocence where you feel your innocence that understanding comes, very spontaneously.
Yeah, the direct connection with what's going on means you can just make a decision, that one, that direction, that person, um, without all that mental activity that you're talking about. Um, so we talk about the childlike state, and of course, children, when they're really directly involved in what's going on, they're not thinking, they're not calculating, they're not planning. Can you think of a time, Alice, where that state, what we could call innocent state, where you actually felt like it protected you because there wasn't any thinking or planning?
um I'm trying to think. I'm sure there were times. Often, I guess it's in retrospect. I don't have anything that's coming to me right now, but sometimes you see things after they've happened, and you realize that had you maybe thought more about it, you would have you'd gone down a different route, and it might have not happened as nicely as it did because you weren't thinking sort of too much about it. You just follow your heart. I don't have something that's coming to me right now, but I know for sure that yes, that sort of feeling of protection because you're not overthinking, and you're in that innocent state it is something familiar to me.
Yeah. Well, something might come to you in a minute or two.
Yeah.
Steve, I'll give you a moment to ponder. Steve, anything that you've noticed like that where you're like, wow, that's amazing. I was so protected, and yet I didn't like calculate or design anything specifically in that situation.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I can look back on particularly moments where if I had been thinking about it, I probably would have done the wrong thing, and I would have really, it would have been a serious mistake. And somehow, there was a feeling of being protected. It was not even necessarily that I had the understanding to make the right decision through analysis, but it just happened that way that I didn't go down the wrong path. And, I just find myself grateful for that later when I realized how it could have gone differently. So, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, that's what you were referring to, Alice, is that it's in hindsight you realize that it
Yeah.
just kind of unfolded just the right way. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're in that state, you're not really you're just doing, you're being, you're doing whatever it is that, your innocence is kind of leading you towards. But yeah, it's retrospect, you see all the other things around that could have impacted you and didn't.
Mark, could I just add something?
Sure.
Also, just the opposite happens too, that I've had some experiences, one in particular in the last year where I would normally have analyzed the situation to death, and for some reason I didn't. I just knew what to do, and I did something that I would probably never have done so spontaneously. And it was the right thing, and I could feel it, and I didn't have to think about it and analyze it too much. So that happens too.
Yeah, I've noticed that, okay, here comes that impulse, the way that a child can have an impulse. Like, I'm just going to run over to that person with a book and say, read this to me, and not really think about anything beyond, want this person to read a story to me. And I've noticed that within myself, that my adult layers of be careful, is it going to be all right? And then deciding I'm just going to act on that impulse. And so far, when it's that kind of pure impulse of like sharing something with somebody or expressing pure love to somebody, that they are so welcoming, so appreciative. That's exactly what they're hoping somebody would initiate, that contact, that outreach. And it's overcoming all our sophisticated, what will happen, what might happen, but just being in that moment of like a child, which just acts. Um, so we sort of learn in Sahaja Yoga that innocence is so foundational, like it really is a principle of all of our centers within us and the basis of our spiritual growth. So can you think of something that you might help out people, like how to protect that inner child, Alice?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is sort of not trying to not let your attention get diverted by things around you too much. So yeah, if, for example, if I find that my attention is sort of wandering, thinking about this, thinking about that, past, future, what's going to happen, maybe, all of that, just kind of rein it back in and say, okay, what's actually important? Where is my attention? And I feel that that is quite helpful to sort of bring back the focus on that kind of the quality of innocence, because that when your attention is inside, you access that more easily, I feel. So yeah, that would be maybe like a tip to kind of just check where is my attention and then bring it in, and yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to look at a device or go out into the world without so much stuff that's designed to grab our attention. Steve, how do you protect your child within you?
Hmm. Um, it's sort of, I don't know, this is very abstract. Um, Sometimes I think of it like this, like I grew up as a musician, so I have music analogies sometimes. Um, if you ever hear, if you go to an orchestra concert and you hear the beginning of the concert, the first violinist gets up and he plays an A, the note A, and then you hear all the people in the orchestra trying to tune themselves to that note. And eventually it all sort of converges and everybody's in tune. And for me, that feeling of connectedness is like that note, so like I can sort of feel when I'm in tune, and I can feel where I'm a little sharp or a little flat. And so I don't know, it's just being aware of that gap or that difference, and feeling when something just doesn't feel like it's in tune, and bringing myself back to that, tuning myself, which sometimes means I have to sit down and meditate, or I have to foot soak. Um, Sometimes it's just an attention thing too, where you can feel that something's not in tune. It's not conducive, to your well-being, and you just have to listen to that and trust the intuition of that.
Yeah, someone sent a comment in the chat, and I know it's really helped me a lot. And what the person wrote was, just be around children.
Yeah.
Watching how, especially if they're outside and they're just like picking up a rock, holding a stick, um, splashing water, um, the directness, no hesitation, um, and then how a child looks at you with that same, sometimes unnerving directness. Um, and then it gives me a chance to see within myself, am I being that simple myself? It helps to really quiet me down. Like you're saying, Steve, um, are we all, yeah, in this sort of harmonious state? And Shri Mataji talks about the wise man and the non-wise man. And so, if you can think of an example in your own life or some example that you can recall of the difference between being smart and being wise. Alice? And if nothing comes to mind right away, I'll go back to Steve and then see if you come up with something.
I don't have a specific anecdote that's coming to mind, but I will give it a minute.
All right.
I don't think I have a specific anecdote either. I mean, yes, I noticed the difference. Like there are certain kinds of, like for me, there are certain kinds of humor that are that I indulge in, sometimes, which are sort of clever humor, but they're not really balanced. It's not really balanced. And and there's a joy where you laugh at something because it gives you joy. There's humor that can give you joy too, but there's also this sort of very mental cleverness. And I grew up like a lot of people. I grew up in an environment that really rewarded that kind of cleverness, where you're just sort of using the mind. Um, but there's just a wholesomeness to the simple, joyful thing, and it's I don't know. I can't think of a good example though, Mark.
Yeah, I can recall two people talking, and the one person has a lifelong habit of being smart, of just being bursting with encyclopedic knowledge. And say they've studied something and practiced something like Sahaja Yoga, just for example. And so then the person who is learning about Sahaja Yoga asks a question. So then the lifelong habit would be to be very smart. It's like, I'm so knowledgeable. Let me answer that question for you. And let me talk for quite a while because I know so much. And it's so subtle as well. But then the wise person might actually stop, go into meditation, and then in that silence, they might actually turn the question back on the person and say, well, what do you think? And the person might actually say the exact correct answer. And they just needed someone to say, that's it. That's what I felt as well. And so that means it's a very wise teacher who doesn't just have all the answers and sometimes might even say, I don't know, but they know that they can really trust the other person to come to that same awareness through this meditation. So that's what I'm kind of seeing as a kind of a wisdom, as opposed to I'm a walking book and I can just access chapter and verse, with all the things I know.
That makes sense. I think, like, definitely the idea of like I feel like somehow with wisdom there's like something to do with space. Like it's not just you're gonna blurt out the thing, you know it mentally, but it's kind of like letting yourself like let the thing come from inside. Like it doesn't have to be something that's mentally like a fact that you know when you're talking to someone, but it's like something that can come to you spontaneously. So it's like giving yourself the space, or in the sort of anecdote that you were talking about, even thinking of giving the other person the space to let that wisdom come out. I don't know, just that notion of space kind of like came to me.
Yeah. And the thing that we're demonstrating is be silent, allow the Kundalini to work, and have that space within yourself. And sometimes a really tricky problem, the answer will just pop, there it is. And because we didn't crowd the problem with 10,000 thoughts about it. So, very enjoyable program to spend with you two and the amazing music of Kirill. So, I'm very privileged to have spent this program with you guys. And to the people watching, have a very good evening if you're watching this at New York time. And we'll see you tomorrow in the next program. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.